listeners. Welcome to Plano Political Pitbulls podcast. I am Esther.
And I'm Ruth.
And today is October 7th, 2024. 1 year ago today, Hamas terrorists attacked the nation of Israel. They killed 1,200 men, women, and children and took 250 people hostage. Of the 250 that were taken, 101 are still being held captive. This was the worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust. 4 of the hostages still in captivity are Americans. Memorials and vigils are being held in Israel today for the victims. Now, usually we here at Plano's Political Pitbull talk about stuff that's going on in our Plano or in the nation having to do with government and politics in a non-partisan way. But we here felt like this was something that could not be over or not spoken about today. So, sadly, while the Jews are mourning, pro-Hamas groups and anti-Israel groups are holding demonstrations all over the world. And Hamas launched a barrage of rockets toward Israel this morning for the anniversary. For a year, we have listened to uneducated people shouting, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." But they don't know which river or which sea. Jordan to the Mediterranean, which everything in between those bodies of water is present-day Israel. So what they're saying is that they want the destruction of Israel.
Well, what Americans believe they're saying is they want... I don't know where this came from, but they think that Israel is like England or France or Spain, and that they colonized a place called Palestine. And they believe that Hamas and Palestinians, all they want is their land back, when none of that history is true.
To use the word colonizer basically turns the definition of colonizer upside down. And
it's not true, because Jews, even in exile, even went across the entire world and in Europe, there were still Jews in the place that was at one point called Palestine, because the UK changed its name from Israel to Palestine. And then when Israel became a country in 1948, they changed it back to Israel. But even during that time when it was called Palestine, Jews were still living there.
Yes. Jews have always lived in Israel.
And they owned, at that time, Jews and Muslims were kind of splitting the country.
Mm-hmm. So I actually will go into a little bit of history here. So what the people who are saying "from the river to the sea," they are ignoring 3,000 years of history. that goes with the land we call Israel. So we're going to give you a very short history of the current Jewish state.
You don't even have to go back to biblical. You don't even have to address the Bible, because even we know in Roman times that was the Jewish state. It was just occupied by Rome.
Yes, because they wanted the trade routes. So, a little history. Jewish people have lived in the land we call Israel since the 13th century BCE. Yes, 1300 years before Jesus, and 1909 years before Muhammad founded Islam. Jerusalem was founded as the capital city in 1003 BCE by King David, of whom was the king of Israel, as it was known then and is now. That was 1,612 years before Islam was created. So the Jews are the indigenous people of the land of Israel. To call us occupiers and colonizers is a lie to make the Jews look evil. The land we call Israel has been wanted by many groups throughout history. Some past occupiers were the Greeks, the Babylonians, the Romans, and the Ottomans. After the fall of the Ottoman Empire in World War I, the League of Nations formally gave control of what they called Palestine to the British government as part of a treaty. Britain's job was to create a nation for the Jews. Even before Britain took control of the land, the Jews had begun to buy land and settle in the area again. By World War II, Palestine's Jewish population grew to 600,000. The rest of the population were former members of the Ottomans. At the end of World War II, a Jewish nation was considered a necessity, one reason being no nation would take the Jewish refugees. Britain gave the problem of what to do with the land to the United Nations. And on November 29, 1947, the UN General Assembly decided to divide the area into two nations, one for the Jews and one for the Arabs. The Jews accepted the deal, but the Arabs rejected it. Israel declared independence on May 14, 1948, and was instantly invaded by Egypt, Syria, Transjordan, Lebanon, and Iraq. Israel defeated the invaders after 15 months of war. After that, Gaza was ruled by Egypt, and the West Bank was controlled by Jordan. Israel then won those areas back in 1967 in the Six-Day War, of which was instigated by the same five powers as in 1948. In 2005, Israel gave Gaza to what was now the Palestinian Authority. In 2007, Hamas won election with about 80% of the vote. This was also the last time the people of Gaza voted in an election. That is a very short history of the area. So please go, and there's a lot more history out there. Please go do your own homework. Don't take our word for it.
It's very complicated.
However, the 75-year fight between Israel and Islam has nothing to do with land. Hamas, a terrorist organization's mission is to exterminate every Jewish person to bring back the 12th Imam, Mohammed, is Hassan al-Mahdi.
Hassan al-Mahdi.
Oh, thank you. Sorry if I got that, I butchered that. According to the Twelvers, Muhammad will return to lead the forces of righteousness against the forces of evil in an apocalyptic war that would ultimately establish peace and justice on earth and bring back true Islam. Hamas also wants to bring back the Ottoman Empire to rule over the Middle East. And I often say that when they get the Ottoman Empire back, who will run it? Who will lead it? Because I don't think the King of Jordan wants to give up his crown, or the Prince of Dubai.
That's why they're not exactly. That's why they're not exactly united. If they actually worked together, Israel would be in trouble. But they don't.
No, they don't. They oftentimes do not like each other. So not Israel and the other Arab nations around it, but the other Arab nations don't like each other. That is a bit of history.
The short version.
The short version, yes. I mean, one reason why Israel was important to the Greeks and the Romans was because it's right by the Mediterranean Sea, and all the rest of the land in the Middle East is landlocked. So you had to pass through it. And to own or to control that area was very important for your trade. But today, that would not be the main reason why Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran want Israel. It has to do with returning to the Ottoman Empire. And sadly, Israel is getting stuck in its crossfires, their crossfires, and they do not want the Jews to exist, let alone be there.
They have in several of their speeches, if you actually look at some of them, in several of them they speak of death to all Jews, not just in Israel, across the globe, as well as Americans.
Yeah.
So Americans, they're kind of playing Americans for fools with all of their ads to help them and all of the sympathy that they want, because they're going to just stab us right in the back.
Well, yes, they call Israel the little Satan and America is the big Satan. And Prime Minister Netanyahu also who says that when they're done with Israel, they'll come to us, America, next. Their next target. Don't be fooled. This is not about colonists. This is not about the land. If it was about land, they would take what they have and create a nation of their own.
They would have taken that first deal that was offered to split it and to have a two-state nation, like one for the Arabs, one for the Jews, but they refused it. And I hear politicians saying that we need to have like a two-state solution, but they don't want that.
If they wanted it, they could have had it 75 years ago. But they don't, because it's not about that. The Palestinians today are actually Syrian. They would go, again, that trade route, they would go to Israel, through Israel for trade, and then go and back to Syria. So that's where we are. It's a sad day for us and our fellow Jews who are still waiting for the release of our fellow Jews and for Americans, we are disappointed, at least I am, in the way that America has handled this situation. We'll say that this is the one area where we will say we totally disagree with Democrats on this. We want to bring our hostages home. It's been overdue. This is what I refer to as the Jewish marathon season, with the Jewish New Year, and then following that we have our Day of Atonement. We have the Feast of Booths, which we call Sukkot, and then Simchat Torah, where we rewind the first 5 books of Moses and start reading the Torah again from the beginning. So it's a very busy season, and it's a season that we spend time with our families, and I am sure that the families who suffered and have members who are still being held hostage are missing them and want them.
Now we have a memorial to add to the marathon.
Yes. And what's really sad for us is that right here in America on October 7th, we had people demonstrating in the streets of New York City and other cities for Hamas and against Israel on a day.
Not even just for the citizens of Gaza, Hamas, the terrorist organization. I don't understand it.
No, I don't understand either. I mean, some people say, well, we want the Palestinians to not be oppressed. They are oppressed. They are oppressed by Hamas. If you want them to be free, then they need to get rid of Hamas. And that's when they'll be free. They are like the Germans of 1930 and early 40s, who there were good Germans, righteous Gentiles, who did not go along with Hitler and who secretly went against Hitler. But as long as Hitler was still in office, still controlling Germany, Germany was going to be under attack. And America blitzed them, carpet bombed them, and in an effort to win the war. And that's what this is. This is a war. And war is hell. And there will be casualties on both sides. And now we have Hezbollah getting involved, and Iran is getting involved. They also are sending rockets. We here at Plano's Political Pitbull, we pray for peace. We pray that this war will come to an end and peace will come over the land. We pray for the victims and for the hostages to be released. You have anything to add, Ruth?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay. Now, this is a short episode, but we are going to close with This is Esther.
And this is Ruth.
For Plano's Political Pitbull, signing off.